Chris Eubank is the favourite for the good reason that he's been fought at the higher level and he is naturally the bigger man. But that man Ben has got some ire and got some danger in him, and he will be even more dangerous when that first bell sounds on April the 20th.
You have to eat to fail those two drugs tests. You dirty little omelette.
You've tasted defeat. You've been rendered unconscious before. He was eating the canvas, literally.
I'm going to beat him because I'm a better fighter than
But you're not.
In every single
But you're
department.
not.
This is a disgrace. And if it isn't a disgrace, which one of you media guys will say, hold on, Chris, I don't think it's a disgrace. Fight me. It's a disgrace.
Conor Benn is leaping up 2 divisions from 147 to fight a much bigger man. And that's what makes it a 50-50 fight, because I think all round, Conor's the better fighter. But it's a dangerous fight, and I just see Conor Benn knocking him out inside 6 rounds. I just think he's punching so hard. I mean, pound for pound, Conor Benn, no question. But up at middleweight, both guys can crack. I think this is a 6-round shootout. I think Conor Benn will come out in the opening bell and try and rip Eubank to pieces.
How are they going to be able to say they're both?
Conor Benn can't control his emotions. No. He's joking.
He's going to have to try.
That's why he's going to be a thriller, because someone will get chinned. And it could be inside, it could be Hagler Hearn stuff, just absolutely going at it, and it'll be electric.
Who's going to get the edge for speed?
Conor, every day of the week.
Well, what's your prediction for it? Inside 6 rounds?
Inside 6 rounds.
What about a round prediction?
3 rounds. Fourth round, Conor Benn knockout.
I'd have said Conor Benn, so I'd have to lean towards Chris. For what reason? Because his last fight, I wasn't impressed, but he's been more active, he's been busier, and so therefore you've got to lean towards. I would lean towards Chris for that reason. If Conor's career had carried on the way it carried on, then I'd say Conor, because I think he was one of the fastest developing fighters I'd ever seen in the UK at that particular time. So I just think that timeout. I think we've lost an important period in Conor's development as a fighter.
Eubank's the bigger the better, and beating with the better fighters, more ring craft. Conor Benn's unproven yet.
Points or stoppage?
If Conor Benn comes over, he says, I think.
Eubank Jr. has always had a good chin, but then he did get stopped, so he can be hurt, he can be stopped, and if Conor hits him, there's every chance he could stop him, but it's certainly a very, very intriguing one.
What's your prediction for it?
I fancy Conor.
I don't. I think I think Chris is leaps and bounds ahead of Conor. His experience, the guys he's been in with. Take away the weight, because Chris is obviously going to be disadvantaged in there with the weight as well. But just ability, boxing skill set.
I mean, he's stylish and he's skillful. And if that Liam Smith defeat, which worries me a bit for Chris, if that's sort of part of the past, that the rematch was emphatic for Eubank Jr., but it wasn't Liam's night really, and he had an injury going into it. So that defeat that Eubank suffered worries me a bit, but he's fought in better company, and Conor Benn's got it all to prove. But if there's one guy that wants it more, it's Conor Benn. There's no
long time coming, over 2 years we've waited, so I feel like the date's coming closer and closer to us. But all that time he's been working on different aspects of his game, and I think he's a lot more improved now than he was 12 months ago. So it's going to be a tough fight, because both Conor and Chris Eubank, as we all know the history of the fathers, there's a lot of pride there between both of them. So you're going to expect them both to come in tremendous condition for the fight.
When Conor Benn charged at you on the pitch.
Honestly, a swear down, not at all.
Not at all.
Look at Eddie's reaction versus mine.
You did look chilled, I've got to be honest, because we just talked about your personality.
I think I stuck my hand out, which you would do, taking a step back, and was going to crack him. And then
I was going to crack him. You didn't stop smiling either, so you didn't flinch. And yeah, Eddie Hill's been not worried.
Eddie turned round like the guy in the playground, like he always is, starts pointing and laughing. Anyway, it was funny. I enjoyed it.
I think Chris Eubank Jr. has to start the favourite. He's the bigger guy of the two. He's been the more tested of the two. He's boxed at a higher level. Conor Benn has had his troubles outside of the ring with the 2 foul test that put him inactive. I mean, I know he had a couple of low-key fights, but not very active, not as active as he'd like to have been. He was boxing at 147. This is now up at 160. Anyone that will think, well, it's not that much of a jump. Trust me, it is. For boxers, it's a huge jump, And Chris is a guy coming down from 168. He boxed George Groves at 168 in the World Super Series. And, you know, he boxed him at 168. He come back down
I never
to
really
160
fancied
now.
him at super middle, though, did you?
No, I didn't fancy him at super middle. He was too small against George Groves. We could see that. 160 is his weight. It is tough there. They put a rehydration clause of 10 pounds in there, but I don't think that'll make much of a difference, because 10 pounds is quite a lot of fluid to put back into the... Chris has to start the favourite because of where he's positioned, but he's getting older now, and Conor Benn is young, and there's a lot on the line for him, and I think it's a coming-of-age fight for Conor. We'll see now just how good he is. Is he good enough? Can he compete at that level? Because Chris has always sort of been there or thereabouts, world level, so it's an interesting fight.
The problem with Eubank's record is this.
The walk, let alone the fight part, it takes a lot of mental strength. It takes a lot of guts, a lot of heart, you know, mental strength. It's a huge thing in boxing.
It's a big thing in life, even outside of boxing, right? In business and in all, I think, great endeavors. Do you think it's something that you can, from what you've seen in the gym, something you can teach or train?
I think you can.
His son, should probably not be dropping at this stage to go down to 160. It was meant to be 157 for the original. It's probably why the weight is such a big thing for him on that. But he's also making a bigger point of Conor Benn shouldn't be coming up 2 weights to fight my son. Like he's making a clear point that no one should really be letting this happen, and without offending and upsetting everyone, and I'm working the show and I'm really looking forward to it, he's probably not far wrong. Opinion that's
Who wins and how?
I'm going Ben early, Eubank late. I struggle to pick a winner on points. So that
it'd be interesting to see what kind of Conor comes out, because I've seen him being really aggressive in the interviews and stuff, and Eubank's been really relaxed. I think that Eubank just could have the edge with a bit of boxing ability, just like staying on back foot, and if depending on Conor, if he's been inactive, and unless he really closes it, he might get emotionally overtaken. I'm leaning towards Eubank a minute.
Points.
Yeah.
Savage. That's it. I'm not human.
I think he can be better than me. All I've got to do is see what he's like when he takes a proper whack. That's it. Did he stand up? Did he go forward? Because I know he's got the grit.
Well, hopefully we don't find out anytime soon.
You got to find out. You will find out, and I can't wait for you to find out, because I think at the end of...
As I said, my only prediction is I'd have originally said Conor, but I can't now because of his inactivity. So I've got to lean towards Chris.
Stoppage, points. I've heard a lot of people saying before 6 rounds.
I think regardless of whichever way the fight goes, I don't think it'll go the distance.
Stand and get it. Now, I'm friends with Conor. I've known him a long time. Just before he got into professional boxing, he's a lovely young man. He's a lovely kid. I'm not the greatest fan of Chris Eubank Jr., but I tell you what, I admire the control the boy has over things. I must admit, I mean, the boy's in such control when it comes to press conferences. He's playing it like he's the orchestra, and he's the guy at the front.
I'm not. No, I can't be inconsistent. I can't be dishonest and a hypocrite. I've said from the outset that I didn't like the fight. I felt it was a fight built upon other people's legacies. I understand what it's turned into. I understand the furore and the interest, and I understand the point that Eddie Hearn's making. If you ask Frank Warren what he thinks of it, he doesn't think much of it. People might say that's because he's not involved in it. But I would like to see Conor Benn fighting at 147 and winning a world title in that weight class.
I think Chris is leaps and bounds ahead of Conor. You know, his experience, the guys he's been in with. You know, take away the weight, because Chris is obviously going to be disadvantaged in there with the weight as well. But just ability, boxing skill set is on a completely different level.
I just think Conor Benn's going to win. Too young, too fresh, and although, listen, Eubank, it took a lot for him to come back after getting viciously knocked out by Liam Smith, to come back and beat Liam. I just think the fight's happening at the right time for Conor Benn. I think the fight's happening at the right time, and I favour Conor Benn in the fight.
Yeah. No,
I think Eubank Jr. is good for boxing. Genuinely, I think Chris Jr. is good for boxing. I think that if he was promoted by a Frank Warren or an Eddie Hearn back in the day when he turned pro, he would be an even bigger star than what he is now because of how he is. He's funny, like he's mild. He's quite funny, isn't he, Eubank Jr.? He speaks well. But yeah, I think he's good for boxing. But I just think Conor Benn's gonna.
Conor Benn is very explosive. He looks like he hits pretty hard. Eubank, I've stood next to him and he's pretty big. So, I mean, I don't know. It's like you said, maybe the weight could matter. You know, so I don't know, man. But that's a very interesting fight, and can't wait to watch.
It's a massive event, but Chris Eubank Jr. for me is a world-class boxer. Conor Benn isn't, and hasn't proven himself to be so. It's a huge test for Conor. I think Chris is going to do a demolition job.
Sorry for Junior, because he is a 34-year-old man at the time. He wants his own thing. His father is always going to be the centre of attention.
Yeah.
I think he's right to make his own decisions.
Simon, I see exactly what you're saying, because Nigel has stood back from Conor's career, and Chris Senior was right in the front at the beginning. And I think it's great that Junior is walking his own path.
So do I.
However, they have had horrendous tragedy.
But I think with Chris, this is purely business. This is purely business. I don't think he quite likes him very much. No. But I'm telling you now, it's a good thing that Conor's in Spain. Because imagine them two bumping into each other on London High Street on a Sunday afternoon.
We don't need that, do we?
No one needs that, no one wants it, but it's inevitable. So you literally have to navigate your way through these camps and keep these two boys away from each other, because
keep the lid on.
I've been there with this kind of animosity, and I've been there with this kind of domestic rivalry. It eats away at you. It's not nice. No. It literally eats away at you. It's on your mind daily. And you just, it gets to it's an intense build-up. Like I said, I've been...
I only see one side, but I wasn't expecting him to be as strong as he was. And like, for someone so little, he does pack a punch. And I was I was quite shocked by that. I thought I could potentially just bully him, because being 2-3, probably like three, maybe 4 weight classes above him, I just thought I'd be a bit too big. But yeah, he's very, very good. And I'm quite intrigued to see that fight.
Eubank says he'll retire if Ben beats him. Can you see where that thought process comes from? Obviously, Conor stepping up 2 weights, the amount of bad blood there's been.
Yeah, maybe then you just don't know. Maybe where does he go from there if Conor beats him? I'm not trying to say Conor's any less of a, but yeah, Chris is obviously the guy who should beat him, because he's a lot heavier, maybe more seasoned, but you know, it's definitely a 50-50 fight in my eyes. I think Conor's going to beat him. So yeah, you can see where that thought process comes from. But you know, who knows? I know Chris likes to play poker a lot, so maybe comes.
Stuff you're saying, I would like to see Eubank fight and win a world title at 147. I would like to see, Conor Benn. I would like to see Eubank stay at, I think 160's hurting him now. I would like to see him fight at 168. But the appeal of this fight is massive.
I think it's gonna be a very good fight. You know, Conor has punching power chances. Chris is the bigger guy, so you give Chris the advantage going in because he's the bigger guy. But Conor does have exceptional punching power, so it's gonna be a great fight. I think Chris should win the fight. I think Chris should outbox him, outsmart him, but he will have to be smart early because Conor is a great puncher.
Proof in the pudding that says Conor Benn punches harder than me at 154. He's had 2 fights at 154 and hasn't had a knockdown, never mind anything else. So. Yeah, if Conor wants to portray that and draw confidence from that and try and plant a seed in Chris's head, then so be it. But like I said, I'll stand on what I say. I've always been a better fighter than Conor Benn. I'm a better fighter than Conor Benn now.
Asking me my opinion on who's going to win the fight, I think Conor Benn for me is the favourite, just because youth, power, speed, hungrier. He's got a brilliant team around him. I'm not sure who's training Eubank for this fight. He seems to switch training teams quite a lot. So I think, for me, Conor's the fight on pace.
Skill might win the fight. So I don't know, I might lean more towards, it's a hard one because last time I was saying Conor Benn, but I think now, thinking about the fight and knowing it's more realistic that it's going to happen, I do lean more towards Eubank because I think skill will win this.
I think it's a mismatch on paper, of course it is. It's a fella that won a British title at welterweight, who hasn't boxed for a long time, against a faded world-class middleweight, so I haven't really got any interest, to be honest.
Egg slap not get you excited for it?
Not really, no. I'm not really an excitable guy.
But Eubank Jr. is his own man, and that's what he's always tried to make out. This is me, this is my career, and this is how I do things. Dad, that was your era, that was your time, blah, 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 let me do this. But I'm sure he'd love to have him sat ringside watching him.
Conor always trains like a machine, a beast. I've never seen anyone train as hard. He's switched it up a level here. Like, there is so much, he's got so much anger, so much like history riding on this training camp, riding on this fight.
I think Eubank might just have a little bit of edge. I just feel like Eubank.
think his size?
Yeah, size difference. You know, he's a welterweight, he's a middleweight. But they've then also got the rehydration clause in that as well, haven't they? So that could play an effect. I think it's going to be interesting. I reckon Eubank edges it.
This fight between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn has fans and boxing experts very excited. Some think Eubank will win because he is bigger and has more experience. Others believe Benn's strong punches can change the fight in 1 second. Big names in boxing have shared their thoughts, but in the end, it all comes down to what happens in the ring. Will Eubank use his skills and control the fight? Or will Benn surprise everyone with his power and heart? One thing is clear, this is not an easy fight for either man. It's a real test for both. We'll soon find out who is the better fighter when the bell rings. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more boxing news and fight predictions.